Frightful's Mountain, Chapter 17, page 211. Frightful feels the call to the sky. Atop the mill house, Oaksy turned her head almost all the way around in one direction and then the other. She saw trees, boulders, the mill pond, and high above them, a bright glimpse of blue sky. The sky captivated her. She sensed she should be there. She flapped her wings. Nothing happened. The air was still. No wind gave her lift. She closed her wings to her body and flicked her tail in frustration. She needed to be in that sky. Frightful watched Oaksy from Sam's tree. Her eyes had taken her first flight. She was no longer a nestling, but a fledgling, a flying member of bird royalty, the family falconade. But Frightful was not about to join Chup wandering free on wing. She had still another duty, to provide food until Oaksy could catch her own. Oaksy's mood changed from frustration to curiosity. She turned her head almost upside down to focus on a twisting leaf, a flying beetle, and a bird. Birds excited her. She lifted her wings to chase, thought better of it, and folded them to her sides. Eventually, she grew tired and put her beak in the feathers between her shoulders to sleep. The afternoon shadows lengthened and turned purple-blue. Up in the big tree, Frightful closed her eyes. From time to time she opened them and checked on Oaksy. Sam read on. Mole chewed on the deer bone. Suddenly, "Sam, where are you?" Bando was running toward the big tree, waving his arms. Oaksy awakened and flapped her wings. A gust of wind rushed under them and lifted her off the roof. In seconds, she was above the hemlock grove, on her way, somewhere. Sam saw Oaksy soaring to independence at the same time she heard Bando shout, "It's a girl! It's a girl! Her name is Samantha!" "Samantha!" Sam said, and Oaksy was forgotten. "Who named her that?" "Zella," said Bando as he caught his breath from running. Sam couldn't speak. "Now we have a son and a daughter," Bando said, putting his hand on Sam's shoulder. "Those are Zella's words." Sam ran his fingers through his hair, trying to take in the wonder of having a namesake. "I've got to get back to the hospital," Bando said. "I'll pick up my surprise for Zella and Samantha." He winked. "Think she'll like it?" Sam still could not speak. Bando's blue eyes shone under his dark eyebrows and prematurely white hair. His face crinkled around a big smile. He waited for Sam to say something, realized he was overwhelmed, and hurried off to the mill house. "Samantha," Sam finally said as his friend of the forest and wilderness left the mill house, carrying on his head the exquisite wild cherry rocking chair he had been working on for 8 months. "Samantha," Sam whispered to himself, "I have a new friend." Frightful did not hear the excitement. Oaksy had disappeared over the mountain, and she was speeding to catch up with her daughter. She finally took the lead and steered to Sam's meadow. She alighted on the limb of an oak tree. Oaksy landed on a hickory stub. Frightful scanned the meadow. Oaksy scanned it too. A rabbit jumped. Instinctively, Oaksy dropped from her perch. She missed. She hit where the rabbit had been, not where it would be by the time she struck. The rabbit dove into a patch of greenbrier, and Oaksy flew back to her perch. While she sat waiting for something else to run, Frightful flew back to the courthouse. She returned in the late afternoon, but brought no food. Oaksy, who had still not caught anything, ravenously attacked her mother. Frightful dodged, climbing swiftly, and sped back to the cupola. In the morning she caught a pigeon. Oaksy saw Frightful flying toward her with the food when she was still a long way off. She waited, then attacked. Frightful dropped the pigeon. With a twist, Oaksy caught in the air and returned to the oak tree. She ate rapishly. Although she had never been taught this, Frightful was following ancient Peregrine instincts. She was hacking her daughter, bringing her food when she could not catch her own. 4 miles away, on the side of Palmer Hill, Perry Knowlton was doing the same thing for Bluebill and Screamer. He carried Screamer to the hackboard, a food platform on stilts. He had constructed it below his house on the far side of the pond. It was shaded by a tree. To keep predators like Jesse Coon James from climbing it, he had encased the stilt in tin sleeves. Carefully, he removed Screamer's jesses and held him high. Screamer saw the food on the hackboard and flew to it. He was hungry. Perry had not fed him for a day to get him ready for this moment. So far, so good, he said, and went back to the barn for Bluebill. Perry held him high. Bluebill had imprinted on Perry more deeply than Screamer, and was perfectly happy to sit on his hand and admire him. "Go," Percy said, lowering his fist with a quick downward movement that forced Bluebill to spread his wings. He flapped and he flew too, but only as far as a tree limb, not to the hackboard. There he sat. "Ah, come on," Perry said. "You've been a mother's boy since I got you. Now, go join your brother and grow up." Perry picked up the jesses, leashes, and falconry bells he had taken off the birds and walked the short distance to his blue barn. Bluebill followed and sat on the roof. "Ho, ho, ho!" Perry bellowed the falconer's cry to encourage a bird to hunt. Bluebill turned his head upside down and observed the action until Perry opened the blue barn door and stepped inside. Then he flapped his wings. A bald eagle riding up the mountain on a rising thermal saw Bluebill move and circled to strike. Screamer, on the hackboard, saw the shadow above him and instinctively crouched. He extended his neck and pulled his feathers flat. The great eagle, with its 6-foot wingspread, did not see him. He was plunging toward Bluebill. Bluebill saw him and shrieked the alarm cry. Perry ran out of the barn, followed by Molly, Jose, Huey, and Maria. The eagle struck Bluebill. Then he saw Perry and sped off. Bluebill rolled down the roof and fell to the ground. Perry picked him up and put him under his shirt. "Is he dead, Mr. Knowlton?" Molly asked fearfully. "No, but plenty scared," Perry said. "His heart's beating as fast as a woodpecker drills. Let's go inside until he calms down." The fans of the falcons of the Delhi Bridge trooped back into the clean, roomy bird barn and watched with great concern while Perry stroked the terrified falcon to calm him down. Jose watched, but was more interested in Screamer. He went to the window of the empty owl room. "The other bird just flew," he yelled. "He's going toward Bovina." "Good," said Perry. "He's off." When Bluebird recovered his senses, Perry put him into a carrying cage and covered it with a blanket so that he couldn't see and beat his wings to get free. "Aren't you going to let him go?" asked Huey. "Not today," Perry said. "I'll check him for injuries before I try again. After all, a bald eagle hit him." "He thinks you're his mom, doesn't he?" Molly asked. "Sort of," said Perry. "2 falcons raised him from about 2 weeks of age on, but he seems to have been more imprinted on people than his brother. Because of that, I may never be able to set him free." "Oh, good," said Maria. "Then we can visit him often." Perry smiled and opened the barn door. "Hop in my van," he said. "I'll drive you all back to the courthouse." Maybe we'll find the other little falcon, Jose said. The road goes close to Bovina. Oh, no, said Molly. I hope he didn't go there. There are lots of transformers around Bovina. I found 4 when we were writing to the utilities company. Time to write letters again, said Huey with a sigh. Terrified by the eagle, Screamer had flown to an oak tree at the top of Peary's Mountain. His fear died quickly, and he calmly looked around. A flock of starlings swarmed past him, fanning out and coming back together. He found them interesting. They flew, they moved, they were birds. They swooped into the bushes and vanished. A red-tailed hawk soared by. Instinctively, Screamer sat still until the hawk was out of sight. Then the starlings came wheeling back. Screamer flew into their midst. The birds burst apart, exploding in all directions. He climbed high out of their sight. The birds turned and came back, reforming their flock. One individual flew alone. Screamer bulleted down and picked it out of the air. He was on his way to independence. That night he slept near the top of a red spruce. In the morning he followed the starlings that were streaming toward Bovina. They came down in a meadow. Screamer landed on a telephone pole, then skimmed the meadow, scaring the starlings into the air. He chased and attacked, but